Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me here today. This video is suitable for all levels and is an hip opening flow, so we will be working on flexibility of the hip rotators specifically. Go ahead and begin in a comfortable seated position, allowing the shoulders to drop down and back along your spine. Your inhale to deepen and your exhale to lengthen. Finding more length through your spine here. Sitting up tall, bringing attention to posture. Taking this time to notice any tight spots, anything that needs work in today's practice. Your next inhale, lean slightly forward, keeping a nice flat back. Holding here. And exhale, lean back. Continuing those forward and back motions. So while your spine is staying as straight as possible, allow your knees to lift up freely, whatever feels natural. Beginning to take the forward and back into a circular motion. Pausing in the center and switching directions. Pausing in the center once again, and as you exhale, this time rounding through your back, a big release between the shoulder blades. Inhale and open up forward. One more time, rounding back. And switching which leg is on top here. Beginning to find a side-to-side motion. This will totally look different on every body. And lowering forward as you continue wiggling out. And lifting up. Leaning forward and back. Take about one more full cycle here. Taking any little motions that feel good, maybe some circles. And extending legs forward and out to either side. So feet are wide on the mat, hands come behind, allowing the knees to drop to the right. And the left, pressing your chest and your gaze over to each side. Right and left, right and left, building a little flow here. So as you're moving, feeling yourself roll across your glutes. So if your glutes are sore at all, you should feel this as you would against a foam roller. Go ahead and hold on your right side, bringing both knees together and making little circles. A balance point is on that right glute. And switching sides over to the left, both knees come together and making those little circles. Return to center. Begin to wiggle out side to side, drawing a figure 8 with your knees. Make this movement yours. Just moving out, feeling good, extending both legs long, giving them a nice shake before you pull your left knee into chest. Hugging it in tightly, this is what protects the knee before we open it out to the side. So lowering out to the side and into center, and you may want to play around with how far your foot is from your hip here. Holding the leg out, applying some slight pressure. Maybe you bounce the leg a little if that feels all right. Taking hold of the inside of the foot, as if you were coming into a half happy baby here. Also an option to hold around the ankle or around the toe, whatever feels most comfortable. If you are more flexible, you can really pull that knee back almost in line with your body. Holding out, finding stillness wherever you're at. And releasing the leg wide on the mat, taking some little circles here. And switching directions. Folding forward. Holding here, breathing deeply. And releasing, inhale, both arms high, finding length, reaching out long. And exhale, rounding forward, finding your edge here. Rolling all the way up, extending both legs out long, giving them a nice shake. And pulling your right knee into chest, locking in that knee, protecting the kneecap. And lowering out to the right and back to center, continuing this motion. Holding the knee out to the right, making that bouncing motion again if that felt good on the other side. Returning to center, big roll in the shoulders, taking hold of the inside of the foot for that half happy baby, making small movements here, and I'll turn to the side so you can see it from a different angle. Wherever you are in the stretch, finding some stillness, holding here. releasing that leg wide, folding forward and continuing those circular motions. Reversing directions. And holding forward, pressing your chest towards your knee. And releasing, reaching both arms high, finding length and rounding forward. Gently rolling all the way up, extending both legs out, shaking them out. And bring yourself onto all fours, however feels comfortable. Bringing the hips right over the knees, the shoulders right over the wrists. You'll begin to lean the hips just left to right to feel a nice stretch in the outer hip on each side. We're warming them up a little bit, and hold to the left. For a little more, you can cross the right over the left. Return to center, shake it out a little, and hold to the right. For more, crossing the left knee over the right. And releasing, returning to center. Taking both knees wide on your mat, dropping forehead towards the mat. So we're coming back as we would be towards a child's pose, but the hips aren't pressing all the way down towards the heels yet. If it feels comfortable for you to do so, go ahead and do it. Otherwise, just focus on this forward and back motion. Really keeping a nice flat line in the back, maybe even a slight arch. Hold down on your forearms as you shift your weight left to right in the hips. Holding to one side and the other. Go ahead and lift your chest as we begin to take some big circles. And switching directions. Really pressing into each edge, if you will, of the circle. Holding back, taking some pulses. And releasing forward. Always feel free to pause the video if you want to spend a little more time warming up into the hips. It's depending on how tight you're feeling that day, how long it's taking you to warm up. So we're pressing into a down dog, walking the feet a little closer so that we can sit the hips back. Knees stay mostly over the ankles, behind the toes. So lifting the hips and dropping the hips. Big stretch in the hamstrings as well. The legs are a little wide, feet about to the edges of your mat. Just enough so that your chest can drop between your knees. Dropping and lifting. If your hips are more flexible, you can play around with a bit of a squat, maybe lifting the chest and the arms as you come down if your seat gets that low. And you may notice when you get to that point in the squat, your heels may lift a little. And if they're doing that, that's totally fine. Just keep the hands on the floor or if you're finding enough balance there, go ahead and stay. The key to getting your heels down is really practicing this and being consistent with it. So finding your squat wherever it's at, taking your knees wide, and leaning forward as if you were coming into a really low crow. We'll try that again. Bringing the arms wide, the knees wide. Lean forward, and this should help facilitate a deeper hip opener, almost as if you're doing a frog stretch, but on your elbows as opposed to the floor. Rocking a little forward and back if that feels good. Eventually pressing your hands to the mat, walking back into a down dog, and dropping knees for a bit here. And pull your left knee in, open up to the side, and take a big circle. So go ahead and pause the video if you'd like to watch, and then continue. So we're pulling the knee into the chest, dipping down into the elbows and opening out to the side. So drawing a big circle with the knee. Go ahead and switch sides, pulling right knee in, opening to the side. Opening a little wider. Nice. One more time. And find your way at center. Go ahead and press back into a child's pose, reaching hands in front. Actively pressing the hips a little closer towards the heels. Pressing through the hands, through the palms, and allowing yourself to relax towards the floor. Walking hands slightly over to the left. And to the right. Drawing yourself back to center, sinking a little deeper. Eventually pressing up onto your forearms or your hands, preparing for frog stretch. For frog, if I am viewing you from the side, hips are in line with the knees and allowing the knees to come wide. Gravity facilitates this stretch. Allowing hips to come a little closer towards the mat, really taking your time, breathing deeply here. Frog stretch is a very important stretch to hold for a decent amount of time. With every exhale, allowing yourself to relax a little more, sink deeper into the stretch. The longer you hold it, you'll notice the more your muscles will relax and allow you to get a little deeper. If you like, sending your gaze over to one side, holding there, and moving on over to the other side, holding there. Gently returning to center. applying pressure through the hands or the forearms as you pull your knees in towards one another, dropping hips back towards heels for a second to release out, and pressing up into your down dog. We'll create a little flow with our legs here, so dropping the right knee in and opening to the side, drawing a circle. So left knee and circle out, right knee, circle out, left knee, circle out. On the right, circle and left. Begin to speed up this motion. Play around with it a little bit. Make it yours. Do that a couple more times and go ahead and walk feet in towards the hands. Gently lower your seat down. Eventually making your way onto your knees, taking a big roll in your shoulders, and bringing your right leg out in front for a low lunge. Instead of having it directly in front of you, bringing it a little bit to the right, opening more through the groin muscles. Lifting up and opening a little more out to the right. If it feels alright to drop your hands, go ahead and do so. Option to keep your left hand planted, reach back for your back foot with your right for a big quad stretch as well. Gently release, rock that leg out a little bit, take any movements that feel good here. And returning to center, lunging forward one time before you switch legs. This time the left comes forward. Lunging straight on, lifting up and walking the foot a little more to the left. Lifting up and a little more to the left. Option to take those hands down on the inside of the leg if that's available. Maybe you even take a twist towards that back foot, keeping your right arm planted, reaching for the back leg with your left. Big quad stretch. Taking any last movements in that stretch that feel good, eventually making your way to center on both knees and dropping into one side. We'll create a little flow here, so feel free to watch first and see how it feels on your body. So lowering to the left. As we come through center, it's coming through a bit of a goddess pose with your toes pointed out to either side at a diagonal. So we lift through goddess, drop the left knee, keeping the right open. Through goddess, drop the right, keeping the left open. And we'll begin to smooth this motion out, so lifting and lowering. If it feels good to sway outside to side in goddess, as I'm doing here, that's an option as well. Maybe you're a little higher or a little lower than me. Eventually straightening the legs, finding your wide-legged forward fold. Allowing head and neck to hang long and relax. Bringing both hands to the mat as you find your own little dance here. I'm swaying out side to side, bending into one knee and then the other, almost drawing a figure 8 with my hips as I move. Pressing into one side and the other. One more time each side. And gently returning to center. Planting the right hand, twisting open to the left. Option to take some rotations in that top shoulder. And switching sides, reaching up with the right, maybe taking those rotations. Finding your way to center, toe heeling the feet in, but keeping them a little wide, just enough to be able to low down into Malasana Yogi squat. Totally cool if the heels are lifted here. Maybe you find a block or a pillow to sit on to prop you up if that is more comfortable. Really using your elbows to open your knees a little wider, open your hips a little wider. Eventually dropping your seat, bringing your feet wide, your legs wide in a straddle position here. Shaking out, taking any little movements to get you comfortable. Hands come behind. And we'll begin to rock out left and right, tapping one hand and then the other, opening up to the right. And through center to the left. Finding center, beginning to take some circles, keeping your back as flat as possible here, trying really hard to do so, and switching directions. And I'll go ahead and turn to the side to explain something a little more here. So often when we find ourselves in straddle, the hips become tucked under, tailbone tucked under, and we want to try and avoid that. So really lengthening, sitting up to the spine, pressing the hips back. So as you see me here, I'm rocking forward and back from that tuck position to the straight position. The goal here would be to have the back nice and flat, maybe even a slight arch, pressing the tailbone, the hips back behind you. So inhale, reaching the hands up, finding that length and only lowering low enough that you can maintain a nice flat back. If that means sitting up tall for you, stay there as you rock out side to side, keeping the arms long or cactusing them, bending at the elbows, maybe even bringing behind the back, whatever helps you out here. And we'll begin a tapping motion. So if you're sitting up tall, tapping the right hand down, then the left. If you have more flexibility, eventually lowering chest down towards the mat. Finding stillness, holding wherever you are, and bringing yourself all the way up. Big roll in the shoulders, finding yourself in a comfortable seated position here, and we'll begin to work into our fire log. Now, if you have a yoga block or a pillow or a book or something you could use here, I highly recommend it. A traditional fire log has both legs parallel with one another, parallel to the floor. But what we'll try out today is taking that block or whatever you found around your house in between your top knee and your bottom ankle. Play around with this and see how it feels. You may find that it allows you to feel a little more comfortable in your hips. You may even feel a deeper stretch. If it's available for you to fold forward slightly, go ahead and take that variation. And releasing all the way up to seated. Releasing that top leg in front of you. And bringing it far enough in front that if you were to draw a line from your forehead and lower straight down with a flat back, your forehead would come right about to the heel or the midline of your foot. So finding that nice flat back, lowering forward slightly and allowing yourself to round towards that front foot. So this is another great variation of fire log. If you find yourself in a yoga class without a block and you know fire log in its traditional sense bothers you, take this variation and see how that works. Rolling all the way up to seated tall, big roll in the shoulders. Begin to take hold of your right leg, cradling it. Several options here. Option to bring the elbows below the calf, or if you're flexible enough here, drawing the foot into the inside of your elbow, cradling it out, eventually crossing the right over your left leg. Option to extend that bottom leg and taking a big twist on over towards the right. And taking a slight twist on over towards the other side. And releasing towards center. Shaking everything out. And we'll begin to find our fire log on the other side. So taking whatever variation you did on the other side. Sitting tall. Bringing your attention back to your breath if you lost it. And if it's available for you to lower forward in this stretch, now is your time. With every exhale, see if you can walk your fingers out a little further. Gently releasing all the way up. Removing your block. And releasing your left leg slightly in front of you. Again, drawing that line from your forehead straight down towards the midline of your foot, finding length and allowing yourself to round forward. Let all that air go and rolling up to seated tall. taking hold of your left leg, either inside your elbows or cradling out, making an effort to press the leg actively away from you, and you're really locking in with your hands. Dropping the leg across your body for a twist, option to extend the bottom leg, lifting up, finding length, and initiating the twist from your navel. Releasing and taking a slight twist to the other side. Returning to center. Bringing soles of feet into touch for a butterfly stretch. Maybe bouncing the knees a little. I'm beginning to take hands to toes or inside the feet or ankles and leaning back slightly, seeing if you can find some balance. Eventually finding a happy baby stretch. Balancing on your hips. Maybe find some movement out. Side to side and dropping down, finding a bit of a stretch. Dynamically stretching, bouncing forward and back, being really conscious of your body here, taking it slow and at your own pace. Finding balance once again. Really play around with variations, maybe with straightening your legs or bending more deeply into either side. Gently releasing, feet wide on the mat, giving your knees some love outside to side. Rounding back into chest, opening forward, rounding back. Hold here as you roll all the way down onto your back. Knees into chest, rocking out gently side to side. Opening the knees a little wider as you walk your hands down around your ankles. Drawing some big circles here. So knees go wide and in together. So wide out, in, together. Wide out, in, and together. Go ahead and hold wide, pressing the left knee flat down to the mat, opening the right to the other side. And rolling over, pressing the right down, actively stretching the left with your left hand. One more time each side to the left. And the right. Returning to center, reaching the hands around the backs of your ankles, butterfly stretch on your back. If you are a little more flexible and would like to play around with pressing forehead towards the ankles or the toes, now is your chance. Otherwise, hold in your butterfly. And releasing wherever you are, drawing both knees into chest, giving yourself a big hug. And relaxing all the way down. Soles of the feet stay into touch, knees lay wide. Drawing one hand to your belly, the other to your heart. Resting here as you notice the rise and fall of your chest with every breath. And drawing that breath deeper towards your belly. Noticing the rise and fall with each hand. Feel free to stay here in relaxation as long as you like, or take a final Shavasana. I would like to thank you all for sharing this practice with me, sharing all of your love and support. It means so much. Feel free to request any videos or give me any feedback in the comments. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Namaste.